Hey there, all, and welcome to the first episode of Leadership in a Nutshell. Presenting to you is Muhammad Khairuddin, Finance Manager and responsible for talent management in ISIC in Amman. This podcast is brought by the youth to the youth. We intend to break down the most common leadership aspects that we must know in order to apply them to ourselves to become a better version of what we were yesterday. And what a way to do that except that we host some of the brighter people who made it there and motivated a lot of people and youth around them. We will be having different leaders discussing different topics with those leaders throughout these episodes, in which we aim to face different leadership, entrepreneurship, and much more skills in order to build up our skills and become more vulnerable to different ways of success. Today, we have very special guests that personally I have learned a lot from. Both of them have their own personalities that I also personally took a lot from. Our first guest is a 25-year-old Moroccan ambassador of peace. He graduated as a mathematician with a bachelor's degree. He also chose to dedicate some of his time to benefit and enhance the Jordanian youth skills and leadership sense. He had a lot of organizing and leadership positions in different NGOs, and currently he is the president of ISIC in Jordan. He's an ambassador for a lot of NGOs in which he traveled with to promote peacefulness. He's none other than Zakariyah Kwayesse. And our second guest for tonight is another bright leader and self dedicated person. He taught himself to be reliant on himself and none other. He taught himself video and photo editing skills, which earned him a leadership position as Business and Customer Experience Vice President, in addition to marketing in ISIC in Jordan. He has been in ISIC since 2017, holding many leadership positions and organizing experiences, which gained him the right skills and experiences to be a motivation for others. We have tonight Ayoub Trabelsi with us. Hello, guys, how are you?
Hello, Mohammed. I'm doing
Hey,
good
Zakaria,
personally.
how are
Thank
you?
you so much. I'm so excited for this episode and can't wait. I'm
Hey,
doing
Ayoub,
fine. Thank you so much, man.
Hello.
how are you guys?
For me, I'm doing well. Thank you for the invitation. I'm really excited for being here, guys, as your guest, especially for the first episode. It's an honor for me to be here. So, yeah, hopefully it will be amazing.
The honor is ours. How's the quarantine with you?
The quarantine is not the best, to be honest, because as most of human beings, we are a bit struggling with the daily routine. But we
Yeah,
are trying our best to manage. We are trying our best to have the remote work. Thanks to God, all MC team were under the same roof, we are living in the same house, so it's easy for us to communicate. And we are trying our best to everyone engage and everyone understand the importance of the remote work. Yeah.
yeah. So, guys,
Okay, so
yeah,
yeah.
go with
For
it,
me,
please.
it's almost the same, just like it's a bit different to be like 24 hours in the same room, just doing the same things, which is like working and
Yeah,
not meeting physically people. So that's the main struggle with this quarantine. Other than that, is it's going fine. So the good thing is everyone is healthy, everyone is good. So that's the most important thing.
exactly. So, have you learned any, are you doing any useful things? Are you taking any courses, learning something new? We can start with you, Zakaria.
All right. Very important question. Actually, my learning in this period of time sometimes is meaningless if you are not given too much importance.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm doing right now is I'm reading a book, starts with a Y, from Simon Sinek, and it's a
Nice.
very important book, to be honest. Just a reminder for me about my why and how you can reflect about the true why.
Yeah,
Rather than reading, I have five elements that I'm trying to feed in the daily basis: mind, soul, health and body, business, which is my work, and happiness.
Yeah.
So this is so far what I'm trying to do in the daily basis. And yes, thank you.
Thank you. What about you, Ayoub?
So for me, to be honest, I'm not doing anything new. I'm just having ISEC full time as usual, since I have two positions currently as two MCP, PPC, XP, and ISECs, as well as being the MCP elect. So I have to work on a couple of things. So I have also my transition as MCP elect. This is what like the things that I'm actually doing. Also, as I started working on the CEO. Classroom or
Yeah.
CEO in the educational cycle from ISC International as also part of my transition. So these are things that I'm currently working on with the mainly COVID-19 statements and also the recovery plan for the after this
Mm-hmm.
crisis, especially for my team, as well as selecting my team as MC team for the next
Cool.
term, as well as Zakariyah is recommending cooking for the team. So yeah, so these are things that I'm
Yeah.
actually doing now. So yeah.
This is what we all do right now is cook and eat, of course. Okay, to start this off, Zakaria, I want to go back to you. Tell me more about your childhood. What do you think went with your childhood that made you where you are right now in your position?
All right. What an important question. I think this question made me reflect about a lot of things. I do remember myself, this kid, the curious one. I used to ask my dad a lot of questions. Sometimes he was so pissed because sometimes he didn't find the answer to my questions, and he was angry and saying me,
Yeah.
"خلاص, done. No more questions." So I do remember myself, this curious kid, asking a lot of questions, trying to understand the universe, trying to understand the world, trying to
Mm-hmm.
understand the real meaning of being as a human being generally. And also, I used to be this kind kid. I don't talk a lot with people, and I didn't had the chance to go outside from my comfort zone back then. I just used to observe a lot and also ask a lot of questions, but especially from my dad. This is how my childhood
Yeah.
went.
Cool, cool. What about you, Ayub? Same question goes for you.
To be honest, for me, it's I can say it's a quite mix of things. So first thing that I like could remember from my childhood is mainly starting to learning how to swim since young age. Just like I started swimming even before going to school. I was 4 years old when I started actually swimming, and then I went with the journey to compete and stuff like that. Now, other than that, which is like having to attend two schools at the time because I was in a normal school and also in a French school at the same time. So I had to mainly go to two schools, like in a day, and then at night I go to training. So this also was part of my childhood, as well as I was I can say as type of creative person. So like if you give me a toy, I would not actually play with it. I would break it and get like what is inside this toy, how does it work, and also like I got to start creating my own like toys. Is like I take two cars, I split them apart, and then I reassemble them again. And once I can remember that I made a short circuit in the house, I think I blew the electricity meter because of that. So this used to be my childhood, to be honest.
Nice. Yeah. Okay, so actually, I wanted to ask this question, keeping up with you, Ayub. Do you think that in our lifespan, we enter school first, then university, and then work, which is about one third of the phase of our lifespan. What do you think is the main important role that the schools play in developing one's personality and skills?
To be honest, this is a really sensitive topic. So for me, I'm the type of person that doesn't believe in the system. So if you ask me about school, like it's it's needed. Like you need to go to school, but at the same time, you cannot only stick to the what school is telling you or what you are learning at school because that's not enough. At the same time, is in school you will learn to procrastinate basically, and you will learn to get like the information. It's easy for you to access the information, and it's mainly about your memory. It's not about how are you actually a smart person or are you actually a creative person. And I think it's also part of killing the creativity of people because you will learn that many will just execute as a machine. So many I will just learn this thing and then I will execute it. And that's the same thing as 9 to 5 jobs. It's just you'll be having a repetitive task and repetitive thing. And that's why I found myself in ISEC. And I think ISEC is just like the space where it gives you the situation where like from you will learn by yourself and just puts you in the situation that will actually require you to start learning the new things and start mainly developing the new skills that will actually help you solve those problems or like those situations.
Yeah, so basically you're saying that self-dependence is key. So not be reliant on anyone.
Yeah, it's mainly is just like if you want to do something, it's just like it's you who's like responsible to do it. So like for me, as what I think is about school is like other than like medical studies, like other things like you can learn them by yourself, and you can mainly get to like be creative, and that's also a thing that you need to keep in mind. Just like now, we don't observe things, we don't get time to observe things. Like we just take things for granted. Just I have a laptop, I don't need to understand how a laptop works. I don't need to understand how things actually work, how they actually got created, from what they actually created. So these are things that like from school you start just getting things like for granted and getting just the information just as it is. So you'll not have any maybe critical thinking or like you don't question things. So I think that's maybe what is the like negative side of schools of the system itself.
Yeah, I do agree, to be honest. Hopping onto Zach. Zach, I wanna ask you a question. You are a graduate of mathematics from university. Do you think that universities right now are lacking any skill, are lacking any classes, lacking any let's say form of education that builds on one's personal skills?
All right, it's a very important question. Thanks for asking. So, plus one to what Ayoub mentioned earlier, I just want to highlight two facts. So, being a student in a university or in a university or either in a high school, there is two differences. There is the difference between being a consumer and the second difference between being a producer. So sadly, in the university, we are just consumers. We are consuming the knowledge, and what we are lacking in the universities is follow-up. Since I followed my studies in the public sector, and you need to
Yeah,
take care
Zakaria.
of. Yes, I'm back. You need to be the one who's taking care of yourself, monitoring, somehow parenting yourself. So this is the positive side, learning the independency. And if you are
Yes, I totally agree with you.
And what is missing in the skills is how we can be producers, as Ayoub mentioned earlier, because we are not only in this sub-region, but I can see in the Middle East and Africa, especially in the public sector, that we are just consumers, we are not producers. So if we want to take advantage of the young population in Africa, knowing that is the second one worldwide, we need to give them the space to produce, to be creative, to find what they like. So this is what I can tell.
Yeah. This gets me to my next question, which is let's say people, let's take you as an example, Zakaria. You have a lot of leadership positions, as I mentioned before. Personally, do you think you created those opportunities or did they come along the way?
Oh, this is a very interesting question. Actually, I learned something very powerful from an LCP. I just need to take you back to 2016
Yeah, sure.
when I joined this organization. And he was sharing, and he was coming from international president's meeting happening in Marrakesh back then. So he shared with us that one of the most powerful learning he had as an ISECer and being in this position as an LCP, he sum up it in three keys. He said the first key is grab the opportunity. The second key is grab the opportunity, and the third key is grab the opportunity. So back then I was just a newbie. I didn't understand the real meaning of grabbing an opportunity. I just wish if I can join the organization back then.
Yeah.
And then moving forward in the journey, I found that grabbing the opportunity is simply by going out from your comfort zone and by discovering your true potential by applying for new leadership position. Even if you are not accepted, but it's fine. You are learning. You took some
Yeah.
time to prepare, to learn, to make yourself better. So having this understanding and having this learning that stick in my mind during my whole journey is one of the most powerful learning that I'm very grateful that I knew back then. And that's what led me to be here, and that's what led me to keep grabbing opportunities and never be satisfied, to be honest. So my advice for people who are listening, either in ISEC or outside ISEC, don't limit yourself. Just remember the three keys that start with grab the opportunity and finish with grab the opportunity. Thank you.
I totally agree. Yeah. So building on that, do you think that it is sometimes demotivating, as what you mentioned? Sometimes you're not accepting. How can you feel motivated back again? Again, how can you attack that feeling of demotivation? What do you think, Zach?
Or All right. I just want to highlight a very cool picture that I saw last time in Instagram astronomy page. So they're putting what is the heaviest thing in the universe. And guess what? The heaviest thing in the universe is regret. So rather than not applying and regretting later on to not applying, this is one of the biggest loss that people can have.
Yeah.
And if you applied, it's fine. If you didn't get it, it's fine. It's still a learning opportunity. It's still a learning, a plus in your portfolio because you knew how dedicated you were and you knew how you can apply for other positions. So what I can tell for people who are applying and they're not accepted either in life or either in ISEC, just keep believing in yourself and the best will come for sure. And something
Yes.
that I learned lately from Larabi, he's our MCVP Finance. I was not accepted in one of the opportunities for regional office, and he mentioned something very, very wise that I was reflecting about it. He said that no worries, man, because God chose for you, so you
Yeah.
should be happy rather than be sad. So sometimes it's out of our hands because it's God who is choosing for us. But this is another topic. What I can tell is just learn from what you did not do good and keep growing. That's what I can tell.
I totally agree with that. Ayub, I want to ask you a question. Yeah. So,
Yes.
talking about motivation, let me mention the motivation, leadership motivation styles, which is democratic, autocratic, laissez-faire, or paternalistic. Having our president with us tonight, what do you think his motivation style is? And do you think, as of the business style that we have of ISIC, do you think it's effective?
So, what is the motivation style of Zakariyah, you mean, and
Yeah.
is it effective? Okay, so I would say that his leadership style is a mixed leadership, to be honest, and I think it's effective. It's because as a person, he like tries to be most of the time like the positive part of the team, let's say. So, as I think most of the people know that he's called, I think, Smile Guy or something like this. So this is what other MCPs does call him, happiness manager, I think, something like this. So yeah, that's I think the keeping that positive attitude and giving that in yeah, Mr. Happiness. So yeah, keeping that positive attitude and keeping that like good vibes and that coming. I think it's something that's also it's good inside the team, and it's also needs to be having as a team leader, as a leader, because like if you as a leader you are down for sure, like your team would be down, and that's also as a leader, like most of the your team members or all the people that look up to you, they need to find you on, like you always need to be like the punch bag. So like you get punches, but you don't like punch people back. So just you need to just like consume that negativity or consume those negative vibes, and just keep always the positivity, and always bring what is like good in people and positive in people, just to keep them going. And that's what is good about leaders, and that's also what we need about leader, because like it's not about making people follow you out of curiosity, but it's making people follow you as they believe in you and they believe on the vision that you're actually bringing to them. So these are the things that I believe that they are needed in the reality
Yes.
of the entity, and they are needed in ISIC and Jordan especially.
This is very important. When you're leading a team, you must know your motivation style in order, your motivation style, and to know your, let's say, the thing you are working on in order to perform well. Building on that, I want to know, what do you think of the communication channels that we have here, Zach? How can communication between a leader and his fellows be effective? What do you think are the main keys?
All right. Well, this is a very important question. Thank you so much for asking. Actually, the main or the major turning point is understanding. So, communication is the key to solve any problem, and communication is the key to move forward. I believe that if we have this understanding, a clear one, we can understand what other people are telling. And I learned something very nice from my previous MCP. He used to give me a session. He gave me a session in our planning. I remember it was in June 2018, and the name of the session is "Seek first to understand, then to be understood." So I took a lot of time to create this session and make it very cool and make it very attractive. And by the end of the day, I had a discussion with him and I told him, "Man, why did you give me this session?" And he said, "We're having a big team, and I know that you are a bit not good in terms of communicating your ideas. So I believe that the first thing that you need to do is you need to seek first to understand, then to be understood." And this can lead me to the
Yeah.
second point, which is having a good active listening. So thanks God, He gave us 2 ears, and we need to use them wisely. We need to use them once people are talking, and we need to understand what people are telling. Because if we are just talking on the sick to talk, this is not a communication. But if we are talking on the sick to understand, this is the real communication for me.
Yeah. So Ayoub, what do you think about transparency between a leader and his fellows? Do you think that all the time a leader, or let's say a manager, should be transparent with his members about some communication? Would that build up a kind of a relationship between them, or do you think sometimes hiding things is better?
So it's an interesting question, to be honest. So yeah, here as a leader, and transparency is the key. So it's something that you need to know, especially in teams. So if a trust is broken, it's the hardest thing to establish again in a
Yeah.
team. So as I mentioned before, she's like a leader. People should not follow you as part of being curious to know, okay, maybe his vision will work, but they need to trust in that vision and they need to believe in that vision. So here, if you break trust with these people, that's the like most like point that you cannot fix again, which is hard to fix. So here, like even if it's like in the worst cases or the worst scenarios, a leader should always be transparent, and a leader needs to be always keeping his team or keeping the people around him or the people that follows him updated about the situation that they are in or anything that they are already talking about. So this is something that is crucial in a team. So people, they need to have that, and a leader needs to keep that transparency existing. And as it is in our organization, as you can see, it's one of the values of the organization, which is demonstrating integrity and transparency. So this is something that not only iCircus should be having, but also all leaders need to be having. And as I mentioned again, it's like if that trust broke, that's hard to establish again.
Yeah, I totally agree. Jumping back onto you, Zakaria. Another aspect of leadership is empathy. How can you manage to be empathetic but at the same time practical and pragmatic? So sometimes we tend to be more emotional, but that affects the workflow. So what do you think about that?
All right. I believe that what I just want to give a small quote since I do love them a lot. So from Brian Tracy, he said that leadership is the ability to get extraordinary achievement from ordinary people.
Yeah.
And I will tell it again. From Brian Tracy, he said one day, leadership is the ability to get extraordinary achievement from ordinary people. So this is a very cool quote that I really love
I agree.
because simply empathy is the ability to wear other people's shoes and see how they are feeling and sometimes how they are thinking. And being the team leader, you need to have this holistic overview about the team and also about their state of mind. It's very important. And using empathy, it's something that can lead you to build a good human connection. And this is sometimes something that we are missing and we are not finding in our families. Sadly, we're not finding in our schools, we're not finding in our surroundings. But in ISEC, we do have this. We do have this good connection coming from the team leaders, and the team leaders, they're connecting and trying to create a good bonding by using the empathy. Jump into the second part, how you can be pragmatic in the management.
Yeah.
You need to be kind of people oriented by using empathy, but in the same time you need to be goal oriented. If you have those two abilities or those two skills, you can make a balance by achieving whatever you want. And of course, as we know, one hands cannot clap, but we need two. And I can tell that the perfect example for a team is the example of one body. We need to consider that one team is representing or reflecting one body. If something in the body is affected, the whole body is affected. If something in the body is good, the whole body is feeling wealthy and good. So, and healthy in the
I
same
totally
time.
agree.
So, this is what I can tell.
Yeah. Building up on that, do you think this creates professionalism in the workplace, or it only creates informality, or, um, I mean, not being professional in your work, being empathetic all the time?
Actually, what I can tell is using our mind and also making the balance. Because earlier I mentioned that you need to be people oriented plus goal oriented. If you are most of the time people oriented using empathy, meaning that you are lacking balance. But if you are having both of them, you can be professional. And something that is very powerful, why I mentioned early people oriented, because this is the most powerful key to have one team following and striving to achieve one goal. So if you have empathy, people, they can trust you and they can look back at you. And if you are mentioning that you got their back, you need to do it action, not only talking, but you need to do actions as well. So what I can tell is being people oriented followed by goal oriented is the key.
Yeah. Ayoub, I once heard a statement saying professionalism will enable you to be more effective leader. What do you feel towards the statement?
Okay, so if someone knows me that I know me that I'm being professional when it comes to work. So for me, professionalism is something highly needed in a workspace and
Yeah,
in an work environment. For sure, you need to be having a balance between professional and personal, but at the same time, is like you need to keep things professional because at the end of the day, it's part of business. And if you are dealing with a business in an unprofessional way, for sure, the business will not be maintained and it will not be having a
of
continuity.
course.
So I agree with that saying. And also when it comes to leadership is like also you need to be professional
Yeah,
since it's something that most of the leaders need to have, which is being charismatic and as well as having that sense of like being serious because at the same time if you're going to be friendly most of the time or you're going to be like when I got asked the question why you don't smile during sessions or something like this, it's just like okay, that's a session, but that doesn't mean that I'm as a person I don't smile or as a person I'm an
yeah,
aggressive person. But it's just like that's like for me, it's just a working situation, and I do smile, and that's also part of my personality as a person. But we need to keep it a professional in a way. So when it comes to controlling a crowd or when it comes to maybe doing your work even with a partner because if you're going to be having a friendly relationship with a partner that's not any professional relationship and that can
yeah.
cause your business to fail. So all of these like we may think about it as like at the end of the day when it comes to ISEC people they may think about it as an organization, but it's also a business, and as at the end of the day it's also a space for us to learn, and it's also a place for us to be professional, to exercise that professionalism as you.
I totally agree with you. Jumping on to next, I want to ask if someone is always striving for passion, always having those, let's say, leadership sessions, leadership positions, he's always initiating. Personally, for you, Zach, what advice would you give him or her in terms of balancing, as you mentioned, balance is key, of balancing between his or her personal life and the work life or the leadership positions that they are applying for? Because we know sometimes it gets hectic for someone and it gets demotivating. From your personal experience, what do you think is the most effective way of balancing between those two things?
All right, I believe that this is a very interesting question for millennials and Generation Z actually,
Yeah,
because we're struggling a lot to manage well our time, and we are not very aware how we can manage our priorities, and this is so sad.
yeah,
That's why I mentioned earlier that sometimes time is meaningless because we are not giving value to time. And I want to highlight something super important from my humble understanding. I just need to give a small definition about time. Time is the most precious currency in the world. And this is the positive definition. The negative definition is time is your enemy. I can give the example of exams, I can give the example of submissions, the quizzes. So here, time is your enemy.
I
But
totally agree.
what we need to know, we need to keep the positive definition. Time is the most precious currency in the world. How? Because for people who are studying economics, they will understand more, they can relate to this. If you are investing your capital in something very positive, the revenue can be positive. If you invest your capital in something negative, you will lose your capital. So the simple meaning of this, or the most takeaway that we need to have, is you need to invest your capital, which is your time, because you are the final owner of this. You need to invest it in something very positive. That's why reading book and also attending some webinars or videos that can feed your mind. It's very, very useful. So talking about something very practical, I can tell how you can make a balance. You just simply need to take a paper and a pen and write what is needed to be done.
Yeah,
And then you need to give priorities to them. But the most important thing, since we are human beings, we just need to give ourselves rewards. So sadly, what we are doing as Generation Z or as millennials, we are giving ourselves a lot of rewards without doing any efforts, and this is so bad. What we need to do is we need to work, get work done, and later on move into the reward. And the reward can be using our phone, using our social media, talking with our friends, watching movies. And I wanna share something very useful that I'm using. Is I take a pen and paper and I wrote all the things that I need to do, and then I use the Eisenhower matrix. The Eisenhower matrix, I just can sum up it in the 4 Ds: do, decide, delegate, and delete. So do is something that you need to do. Is important and urgent. Decide is important, non-urgent. Delegate is non-urgent, but it's important. Delete is something completely non-urgent and non-important. So I can give them numbers. 1 is do, 2 is decide, 3 is delegate, 4 is delete. So I wrote all the things that I need to do because I can't remember all of them. So I can see them and then I can start giving numbers. And most of the time I'm using 1 and 2. Do and decide, do and decide. And to make the work super effective, I give time allocation. Why, if you are asking? Maybe to challenge myself that maybe in this do, which is important and urgent, I need to finish it in 30 to 40 minutes. If I did not succeed in this time, I can know that I need to put a lot of time. So priority management and also considering time, it's the most precious currency. They are the key to make a good balance between work and life in general.
I totally agree with you. Thank you for the matrix. This is very useful to be honest. Ayoub now. I want to have a session. This part of the podcast is what I like to call lightning rounds. So basically, I'll be asking you 10 questions without any thinking. Just answer with a yes or no. After that, I'll be asking also Zach some questions. So to start off with you, Ayoub, are you ready?
Yes, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start. First question: do you encourage, promote change, and be a change agent?
Yes,
Are you willing to take risks and remain bold in your actions?
yes,
Do you always give credit to those who work with you once they do a great job?
yes,
Do you bring up and engage in a difficult subject or conversation?
yes,
Have you clearly defined a goal or common purpose and supported its achievement?
yes,
Do you always plan, strategize, and make decisions that build a team and not an individual?
yes,
Okay, so do you build trust by offering to trust people first before expecting trust to be earned?
yes,
Can you choose to promote someone else's idea over your own?
yes,
Do you usually do it?
yes,
Do you regularly review and recap your team's progress and accomplishments?
yes.
And finally, do you usually have the courage to say no to an unimportant time wasting request?
This is a kind of, I would say no.
Okay, thank you, Ayu. Jumping on to you, Zach, I'll be explaining why I asked these questions just afterwards. Zach, are you ready?
All right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm so ready.
yeah. Okay, to start off, do you hold yourself accountable before holding anyone else accountable?
Definitely, yes.
Have you readily admitted to a mistake you have made in the past in front of your teammate?
Of course, yes.
Do you highlight several strengths or skills you see in another person and tell them?
Yes.
Okay. Do you always treat your staff and others respectfully?
Again, can you
Yeah. Do you
go
always
back
treat your
again?
staff and others respectfully?
Yes.
Do you help your team and others to win and learn new skills?
Yes,
Okay. Do you show empathy and compassion to others?
of course, yes.
Do you listen to different views and take them into account when making decisions?
Previously, no. Lately, yes.
Okay. Do you believe that inclusion and delegation are the essence of shared governance?
Definitely, yes.
Cool. Before last question, usually, do you stay calm and control your emotional outbreaks in all situations?
Of course, yes.
And finally, do you usually focus more on people and not just concentrate or talk about numbers most of the time? So basically, do you focus on people or numbers more?
People.
Yeah. Okay, that was it. So basically, why I asked you these questions, this is a test I found, which shows how of a leader you are. So basically, you have 10 questions or sometimes more, and there's an index. So both of you have answered 10 out of 10 questions right. So this shows um, how you have inside developed leadership and are ready to take on leadership positions. I just want to comment on some things that you, Zach, have answered. When I asked on showing empathy and compassion to others, as I mentioned, do you always do that, or sometimes you are very strict in your question, in your let's say decisions when talking to a team?
All right, it's a very strong question, to be honest. Actually, I do use empathy most of the time. And sometimes I found that I used to be stubborn a bit. So that's why I used to take the decisions without taking the opinion of the team. So I believe that was one of the mistakes that I did previously. And I learned from this mistake. And I'm very grateful because I could not learn without the support of my team because they are the one who led me to open my eyes on the mistakes that I was doing. And I'm very grateful for the feedbacks that I received for them. That's what can lead us to the power of feedback. Feedbacks is
Yeah, this
something
is one
super,
point I wanted
super
to mention.
important in any experience. So lately, I start taking into consideration my team's feedback and also including them in the decision because being an MCP, one of the hardest things that you can do is making a complex decisions.
Yeah.
And sometimes thinking about the process of making this decision is hard itself. So
Yeah.
you need to be strict into making this decision. But sometimes taking the feedback and also the support of others is something very needed. And I just want to highlight something very, very important that we have in our religion as Muslim. The Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, previously he had people who he was talking to them and asking for their feedback because he was for me he was the perfect human being in this earth, but he was showing to people that he was not perfect enough. That's why he was asking people's advice. So having this reference in mind, it's something that made me reflect that me too, I need to start thinking about my actions and I start learning from my mistakes and I need to start including people in the decisions. So that's what I can tell. Thanks for the question.
This addition. Jumping onto you, Ayoub. You mentioned that you are willing to always take risks and remain bold in your actions. Don't you think that this sometimes can fire back on you?
Uh, like you cannot do things from your comfort zone, so you need to always take risks, and you also need to be ready to take risks. And this is something that we live with. And also, this is something that you need to know that, as a finance student or come from a finance background, is just like the higher the risk is, the more the reward it can be, or the higher the reward it is. So this is also a concept that like also you need to keep in mind. So for sure, like there is studied risk. I'm not saying that it's a risk, just like something I don't know anything about, or just be in, or just go, just I'm gonna be doing it out of nowhere, out of not like studying it. So there is study risk, and that type of study is the risk I'm talking about. So you need to make a study, like study risk moves, and those type of things that you need to always have, and that type of risk that you always need to be taking and not be afraid of taking, because it's like things cannot come from out of comfort zone, especially in like nowadays society.
Do you recall any last risk or any action that you took that you felt is very risky, if you can share with us, and how you managed to put things up in it?
Risky situation. Like to be honest, it's just like as an MCVP work, or as an MCP work, it's just like it's always you'll be having risky situation that you're gonna be put in. Like I don't know, like just trying new things when it comes to the inside the organization, or also even like when it comes as I used to be GST team leader, which is working with people from different realities and from different like understandings, and also creating content for like the social media for the whole network. That's also comes with its own risk, especially when you are trying new stuff. I can give you I can give you an example, which is making a poster about the Joker back then. With the film of the Joker, so that's also was a risk. What was taken by me, and because it can be perceived like in a bad way, as well as because like I know when some PR crisis happened before me, even about making posters about Greta. About making posters about her, and the concept of ISIC that caused also PR crisis for ISIC International. So these are things that just you need to be aware of during doing those like type of action, and also you need to keep in mind that what type of like recovery plan you'd be having after it, and you need to think about the repercussion or the consequences of each action that you're going to be taking. So these are things that like especially in working as I mentioned as GST team leader and creating content for the whole network, because as I mentioned, it's not only for one country or for one reality, but it's for multiple realities, multiple countries, and you don't know like what is the people how are going to be reacting regarding that content, or even regarding posting their own images on the social media. So these are things that I can say that they are type of risks that you should take on daily basis, and you need to learn how to work with, and like some like stuff happens, like for example you get an EP coming complaining, why did you use my picture, I didn't give you the right to use my picture, and you were talking about the GDPR of the of ISIC International as an organization, and you need to find a way to solve it. So these are a lot of things that as I mentioned are risks that you like take, especially in ISIC, and ISIC puts you in them throughout your experience.
So basically there's always a risk. But we as people, we have to know what are the possible risks and try to solve them, or at least avoid them. Or what we can actually do is put them into our use. So that was it for the lightning round. And now we have a question and answer part. So I've written here some question and answers that I'd like to ask you, but I'd like to ask also the audience that we have here to put down some questions if they have any for you. So we can start with what I've written until they have something in mind. So for you, Zach, have you ever taken on a job that you are unqualified for?
Sorry again. Can you take back the question?
Have you ever taken on a job that you were unqualified for?
I can recall in 2013 my first experience in a call center. I was not very qualified, to be honest, but I showed them that I was very passionate about this opportunity and they accepted me. And actually, I didn't spend a lot of time with them because I could not manage the stress and the pressure in the work environment. So, this is what I can
Yeah.
call back in my memory.
Yes, I asked you this question just to ask you the other one, which is, do you think sometimes we have to take on, as I was discussing with Ayoub, do you think that sometimes we have to take those risks? And for example, let's say I'm not qualified for this job. Do you think I should take on this risk and learn something new?
Actually, I do support the idea of taking the risk if I do have time because we need to think win-win. I'm investing my time, but what is the return of investment that I would be getting back?
Yeah.
If it's only for the sake of having an experience, خلاص, it's fine. I can check another fruitful experience. If for the sake of learning and getting better, I can go for this experience. So I highly recommend to have this mindset of win-win. What will be the return of investment that I will be having by the end of this experience?
Yes. I totally agree with you. For you, Ayub, I'm gonna ask you this question. What kind of criticism you get the most and how you can handle it? We all know that leaders a lot of time, or let's say always, they do get criticism. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative. How can someone who's in a position or leadership position can handle this criticism positively?
Okay, so I can say that the criticism that I've been having, which is like I don't smile, which is weird, but it's fine. When it comes to like how can you handle it, it's just like the way that you accept it because it's a feedback at the end of the day,
Yeah.
and it's part of the leadership that you need to accept the feedback. And in ISEC we say that there is like you don't shouldn't give feedback, no feedback to feedback. So mainly it's just like it's a feedback. You just take it if it's true, just like work like on improving it. If it's not true, you just need to accept it and just keep living with it. And also at the end of the day, it's as a leader, you don't need to be a person who is dependent on people validation. So you don't need to be dependent to someone to give you validation on life. So you
Yeah.
just need to be who you are as a person. And at the end of the day, it's about mainly personal satisfaction. So if you are mainly like satisfied with who you are and what you are doing at the end of the day, like there's nothing that's going to be
Yeah.
like breaking you down, but it's just a feedback. You just need to accept it the way it is and just like work on improving those things. If like those are true, if there's something it's just not true, at the end of the day you need to accept it as well and no hard feelings, because it's just someone
Exactly.
giving you a feedback, and as anyone needs to have it because it's a way to improve. It's a way for improvement, and that's how a leader should perceive it.
I totally agree with you. Jumping on to you back, Zakaria. You've been a president for Isaac and Jordan for about a year now, and of course you've had more leadership positions where you had a team beneath you. For you personally, what do you think a leader's best asset is?
All right, this is a very powerful question, man. Thanks for asking. So, actually, I just can sum up in one sentence:
Yeah.
actions speak louder than words. And being a very good leader is talking the talk and walking the walk, meaning that you need to speak your mind and at the same time act and show people what you are telling, because this is the way that can build trust and this is the way that can let people be very confident once you are asking them to do something, and also they can reflect back on what you said and what you did, so they will also reflect back on themselves and they will do the same thing.
Yeah.
So I can just definitely mention that actions speak louder than words.
Exactly. My final question is for you, Ayub. Do you believe in failure? Do you believe that if I didn't succeed in something, I should be positive, negative? Sorry. that I should always be, I don't know, pessimistic. Do you believe in such thing, or do you believe in the other side that, okay, I didn't succeed in this position, let's say, and it can go on? What do you think?
Okay, so that's a cool question, and that sums up my icicle journey to be honest. So regarding that, what I can say is failure is just you stopping stopping like wanting the thing and you stopping trying to reach your goals or to reach your dream. I can tell you like a couple of stories regarding that when it comes to
Yeah,
my own
sure.
experience in ISEC. So like when I started, I've been a member, and then like after 2 months as a being a member, I started applying for opportunities, and the first opportunity that I applied for it was a VP, and
Nice.
then I was knowing nothing about anything and just coming from my LC, which
Yeah.
is like a huge LC, like it was like standing in front of 180 people for the first time,
Oh.
that making an action plan and making people vote for me, and actually going through the second round and reaching the second round of votes with like my team leader at that time, which got the position as VP. That was like an experience itself. So what matters actually, it's actually the journey that you're gonna have, those experiences that you're gonna be having. And during that week, I didn't stop. I kept applying for opportunities, applied as NSC, applied for other opportunities, and I had the record of getting rejected like at least 15 to 20 times in 1 week. Like I got all the rejections in 1 week. And like that's something that I learned a lot from, because like actually some of the people that actually rejected me at that time, I worked now they reached out to me and they want to work with me as MCVPs, and now I'm MCVP at this like also. And also like something funny in my experience, which is like I applied as VP back in 2018, I think, or 2018 December exactly. I applied as VP for my second term. I was team leader at that time, and I was too confident to get the position, and then like I was rejected with one vote. Like that's like you can imagine that like situation, which is like everyone was expecting me to get the position, and
Yeah.
then I didn't get the position with only one vote.
Disappointing.
And I didn't choose to quit. I didn't choose to stop there. I continued my journey, and then I worked. I got elected as MC manager in Tunisia,
Yeah.
and I worked with MC. So that one vote enabled me to work as part of the MC team in Tunisia. And then I had to apply as GST. I worked also in IPM, and then I got elected as an MCVP, and now I got elected as MCP. So it's not about that, like that one vote.
Yeah.
It could change a lot. So if I got that one vote, I wouldn't be having my MC manager experience. I wouldn't be having other experiences. So it's just like as you perceive it as a failure, it may not be a failure. It may be like an opportunity for you to open other doors, or an opportunity for you to take other positions, or to take other initiatives or other opportunities that you have out there. So it's just like you need to learn from it, get like improve yourself and go for the next opportunity. So just like get feedback from why I got rejected, what is the thing that didn't work back then, what is the thing that is not actually working with me, or what is the thing that I'm doing wrong, and learn from it, improve yourself, and go for the next opportunity. So that's what I think is the thing. So there's like failure just you quitting, and you just saying no, I don't want to reach that dream, or you believe actually that you can reach your dreams, or reach the thing that you
Yeah.
actually want to reach.
I strongly agree with you. You have one great of a story, just to let you know. Um,
Thank you.
that was it from my side for the questions, but we have here two questions directed towards Ayoub from Taqwa Sharab. So she's saying, "Hi Ayoub, my question to you is how to maintain your level of work. Tell us about the recipe you do."
So yeah, how to maintain my level of work?
So
Just
basically
like building a
consistency, what?
habit.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's just building a habit. To be honest, like you need to build that habit of like doing work at the same time, which is like having focuses. So for me, what I do is like I have a to-do list, and I make a list all the things that I'm gonna be doing. I make a checkbox. I prefer writing it. I have my to-do list in my Google, but like I just prefer to have it written in front of me, and just like I start doing things with a priority, of course. And at the end of the day, it's about commitment. So you need to feel like that you are doing things for passion and out of passion.
Yeah.
And so if you are not doing it out of passion, that's like you are not enjoying it. So if you are actually enjoying it, no matter how much time you're gonna be spending in it, like you will find yourself like just enjoying it. At the same time, like you need to find it as a way to learn new things. So for me, what I do is I try to innovate when I'm doing work. For example, if I'm making a sheet, I try to do my best making that sheet. If I'm making something, I try to like make it look like the most presentable as possible. I try to learn new things while making that. So these are things that just like makes you enjoy those times. So you are making work at the same time you are learning something new and you are enjoying your time. So it's a win-win situation at the end of the day. And it's about time management. So just like you need to manage your time
Yeah.
and to believe in what you are doing. So just like believe in the cause that you are doing, because we get lost in like in doing the tasks, and we get lost in terms of doing the work, but we forgot the initial thing that we are. Why are we doing what we are doing? So that's the thing that you just need to keep it in mind, which is like, okay, I'm doing this for a reason. I'm doing this for something greater. So I'm just mainly it's gonna be like out of passion. So just do something you love, and it's gonna be something like you'll have like everything will
Exactly.
fall into place by itself. So just that's it. That's it.
She added also, who's your role model?
Who is my role model? To be honest, I have a couple few people that they are my role models. So actually, most of them are filmmakers or video makers. So I have Casey Neistat. It's also a person that I look up to, and there is also Peter McKinnon as well as like a person that I look up to as a role model. So these are people that I really look up to. So because like I believe, for example, taking Casey Neistat as a person, he just started out of like nowhere, out of nothing, and he even had like a huge responsibility when he was starting. He had a kid that he had to take care of, and by the end of the day, he just like kept going, 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 and then he like reached like a success. So that's I think what's what I like as a person, or why I like him as a person. I took him as a role model, other than my passion, which is making videos for sure. So I think these are things that combine together to make him my role model.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Zach? Do you have any role models?
I will be very realistic in this answer. I can tell that my role model is my dad, because I learned from this man the real meaning of hard work and the real meaning of perseverance and the real meaning of never giving up, because he used to had a lot of troubles in his life, and he invested a lot of time, also energy and years, not enjoying his life to make sure that we will be doing this. So I look up to my dad most of the time, and I mention him most of the time in my videos while applying for a leadership position, because this man teaches me a lot of things, and I'm very grateful for him, and I'm very grateful for the trust he has given me and the support.
Yeah.
And also, from a perfection side, I can tell the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's a real role model in any aspect in life. So I look up to him, to be honest, and also I consider him that he is the most powerful human being in this earth. Even he used to be here a couple of years ago, but he still teaches us the real meaning of enjoying life and also living a very healthy, wealthy life. So yeah.
Okay, so before I cut this off, I want you, Zach, not to put you on the spot, but I wanted to give a message to the people watching and the people that will be watching later. Just a general message. And after that, I want you to give Ayoub a message as he's being elected next year for MCP. If you can please just give us a general message for us and for the future.
All right. So I'm very grateful, first of all, being part of this space. I'm so thankful for you, Khairuddin, and for this great initiative. Thank you so much for this. So I just need to express how grateful I am first. Second message is the power of double A, which is apologies and appreciation. I used to do this activity with my team in our monthly review, and it's very, very powerful activity. So if you did something wrong or bad, just go to this person and apologize for him. If you did something very good, starting from yourself, appreciate yourself, because self-appreciation is super needed.
Yeah.
And it can give you a space to trust yourself and to bring back your self-confidence and trust in the same time. So self-appreciation and appreciation in general, it's very needed, especially in this challenges or in this challenging period that you are having. And also apologies is the fact of being vulnerable and is the fact of being true to yourself and admitting the fact that you did something wrong. So this is the power of double A. And also what I can tell is people, please take into consideration that you have a very powerful weapon or very powerful key, which is your time. You are the final owner and you are the final responsible about it. So please don't waste your time doing nothing, because now you do have time in this quarantine. You do have a lot of time. You can start reading books. You can start writing articles. You can start attending yoga activities. You can do what